Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. I can't recall the precise day my marriage to Nora stopped being about passion and started feeling like a duty, but I know exactly when it fell apart. It was a hushed Friday evening in Willow Creek, the sort where the breeze carries the scent of pine and families gather for meals that feel more like habits than joys. Nora had prepared her time-crusted pork tenderloin, a recipe she hadn't touched in years, and she wore the sapphire blouse I'd gifted her for our 17th anniversary. It hugged her in a way that once set my heart racing, but that night, it seemed like a clue I couldn't unravel. I'm Daniel Holt, head investigator for the Willow Creek Police Department, trained to catch deceit in a glance. Yet I walked blind into the trap laid across the candlelit table. Dinner started with light conversation. Our daughter, Lily, was prepping for her first year at college, and we chuckled about her newfound love for poetry slams. Nora poked fun at me for scorching the dinner rolls, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like the days when we'd tease each other until the dishes were stacked. Then she placed her fork down, smoothed her napkin with careful precision, and locked eyes with me. "Daniel, I need to tell you something. Please listen." Her tone carried a weight, not anger, but something deeper, like sorrow honed to a point. My stomach knotted, a reflex from years of reading suspects, though I couldn't name the danger. "I ran into Victor last month," she said, her voice steady. My hand froze, a piece of bread halfway to my mouth. Victor, her former fiancé, the one she'd nearly married before I entered her life. He'd left her for a startup mogul and vanished to the West Coast. I only knew his name because she'd whispered it once, long ago, in a dream she didn't know I'd heard. "He's back in Willow Creek," she went on, her gaze unwavering. "His wife passed 3 years ago. A stroke. We crossed paths at the town fundraiser, just talked." I nodded, silent, my quiet a habit from too many crime scenes. "We've met a few times since. Coffee mostly. Reminiscing." The room felt heavy, like the pause before thunder. "I didn't plan this, Daniel. I love you. You've been my anchor, but I've realized something I tried to ignore for years." She paused, and her next words cut deep. "I still care for him." My glass tapped the table, a faint sound that rang in the silence. Nora reached for my hand, her fingers warm but distant, like a memory of closeness. "I want to stay with you," she said quietly, "but I also want to see what's left with him." I looked at her, the woman I'd shared 18 years with, the mother of our daughter, the one who used to slip encouraging notes into my briefcase before a tough case. Her expression was calm, almost expectant, as if she'd propose a solution instead of a wound. "I've been thinking," she continued, "maybe we could try something different. I could live here 1 week with you, then a week with him, just until I figure things out. It's fair, right? I don't want to lose you, Daniel." Fair. The word stung, ridiculous and empty, like a suspect's excuse that unravels under scrutiny. I rose, not in fury, but with a strange calm, as if a truth I'd sensed for years had finally surfaced. "No," I said, my voice even. "Daniel, please," she murmured, her eyes widening. "You want to Holmes?" I asked, almost detached, though the faint humor was a shield. "I don't divide what's mine." She blinked, caught off guard as if she'd expected me to bend. "So that's it?" "No," I said, stepping toward the hallway. "That's the beginning." That night, I checked on Lily like nothing was wrong, though she was too sharp not to notice my mood, and her glance lingered as I left her room. I shut myself in my office, locked the door, and dug out an old notebook from my training days, filled with profiles on deception. This time, I wasn't analyzing a criminal. I was opening a file, and Nora Holt was the name at the top. The next morning, Nora moved through the kitchen like nothing had changed, wearing the soft gray robe I'd given her for our 12th anniversary. She hummed a tune, flipping blueberry pancakes with a practiced ease that felt almost defiant. Her composure was a blade, slicing through the tension from the night before. I sat at the table, sipping coffee, watching her like I'd watch a suspect who thinks they've covered their tracks. When she slid a plate in front of me, I ate in silence, each bite mechanical. As I finished, I stood, pressed a kiss to her forehead, a habit, not affection, and said, "I'm filing for divorce. I prefer we keep it civil." Let me know if you want mediation. Her spatula froze midair, her face paling. You're serious? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. I am. Her eyes shimmered, but her voice held steady. What about Lily? This will crush her. It will, I said, meeting her gaze. But she deserves to know who her mother is now. Not in 20 years when she's piecing it together in a therapist's office. The words landed like a slap, and for the first time, I saw a crack in her calm. Good. I grabbed my keys and left, driving to the office of Rachel Vance, the sharpest family lawyer in Willow Creek. I'd helped her years ago with a harassment case, and she owed me a favor. She leaned back in her chair, pen poised over a legal pad. You want blood or a truce? A truce that cuts deeper than war, I replied. Rachel's lips curled into a knowing smile. My specialty. We mapped out the strategy, clean and precise. Meanwhile, Nora tried to reach me, text, voicemails, even showing up at the station one afternoon. I let her wait in the lobby for 30 minutes before my assistant, with polite firmness, sent her away. She lingered outside for another hour, but I never left my desk. When Lily called that evening, her voice was tight. Dad, what's going on? Mom's a mess. I told her the truth, every word measured but unsparing. She went quiet, then whispered, Tell me this is a lie. It's not. Her breath hitched, a stifled sob. Mom wants to juggle you and some guy. Is she losing it? No, I said. She's just choosing herself. Lily hung up. That night, Nora called, her voice frayed. Lily won't talk to me. She blocked my number. What did you say? The truth. You made me sound like a villain, she snapped. I didn't have to, I said, and ended the call. Weeks passed, and the divorce proceedings began. I requested control of our home until the settlement, citing my primary financial contributions. Nora pushed back, claiming it was joint property, but Rachel unearthed the original deed. My grandmother's inheritance had covered the down payment, not a cent from Nora. It shifted the leverage in my favor. But I wasn't just playing for legal wins. I wanted to unravel Nora's sense of control, to make her feel the chaos she'd invited. So I devised a plan, not to wound her, but to mirror her own game. One morning, I called her. I've been thinking, I said, softening my tone. I miss you. Maybe we could try your idea. The week on, week off thing. A long pause. You mean it? Her voice trembled with hope. I do. She exhaled, almost sobbing. Daniel, this means everything. Can we meet? Both of us with Victor? To talk it through. We agreed on a quiet bistro in town, the same one where I'd proposed years ago. Victor showed up with her, his posture smug, like a man who thought he'd outplayed a cop. Nora clung to his arm, her smile nervous but bright. I leaned forward, folding my hands. I'm open to your arrangement, but I need details. What am I signing up for? Victor smirked. It's simple. Nora loves us both. She gets to have us both. It's modern, enlightened. I nodded, letting the silence stretch. Let me ask you, Victor, if your late wife had come to you with this deal, sharing her with an old lover, would you have smiled and said yes? His jaw tightened. That's not the same, isn't it? I turned to Nora. And you, if I brought my ex into our home and asked you to share me, would you have welcomed her? Nora hesitated, then said, If it made you happy, yes. Her lie was polished, almost convincing. I leaned back. All right, let's do it. For the next 2 weeks, I played the part of the devoted husband. Nora returned to our home, eyes bright with gratitude. I cooked her favorite meals, pulled her close for slow dances in the living room, laughed at her stories like we were young again. At night, she melted into me, her touches desperate, as if she could erase Victor's shadow. And I recorded it all. Every murmured confession, every moment she swore she'd never loved anyone like me. When her week ended and she went to Victor, I sent him a single email, a private link to the footage, no message attached. An hour later, my phone rang. Nora's voice was raw, hysterical. What did you do? He saw everything. He's done with me. Then you're mine again, I said, ice in my tone, just like you wanted. Daniel, please, she sobbed. I hung up, letting her drown in the wreckage of her own design. The silence after Nora's call was deafening, a void that swallowed every sound but the faint hum of my own thoughts. She didn't reach out again that night. Maybe she was scrambling to salvage things with Victor, or maybe she was staring at the pieces of her plan, realizing she'd lost her grip. It didn't matter. My aim wasn't to pull her back. It was to strip away the illusion she thought she could control. I'd given her exactly what she asked for, and now she'd live with the consequences. By morning, Nora's text started trickling in, tentative at first, then desperate. "Can we talk? I didn't mean for this to happen." I left them unanswered. At the station, I buried myself in a string of arson cases, piecing together timelines and motives with a focus that felt sharper than ever. My team noticed, but no one asked. They knew better. A week later, Nora called again, her voice softer, worn thin. "Victor's gone," she said. "He left town. Said I ruined everything." "Congratulations," I replied, my tone flat. "Daniel, I never wanted to hurt you. Or him. But you did," I said. "You thought you could hold two lives in your hands without either slipping. You thought you were untouchable." A pause, then a whisper. "I still love you. And yet you let another man into your heart while wearing my ring." Her breath caught, a small, broken sound. "I made a mistake. I see it now. Can we try again?" I let the silence stretch, then spoke, my voice low and deliberate. "Oh, what would he try, Nora? You wanted to be my wife half the time? Fine. But from now on, I set the terms." "What does that mean?" she asked, confusion lacing her words. "You'll come back every other week," I said. "You'll cook, clean, play the part you wanted to split between two homes. But it's just me now. And you'll never know if I'm holding you close because I care or because I want you to feel the weight of what you broke. Why are you doing this?" Her voice cracked, a sob breaking through. "Because you turned me into someone I don't recognize," I said. "And I want you to know him." The months that followed were a dance of precision and pretense. Every other Monday, Nora arrived at my apartment, suitcase in hand, her smile brittle but determined. She scrubbed the counters, folded my shirts, cooked dinners that tasted like memories. Herb chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, meals we'd shared when Lily was small. She tried to spark conversations, to reclaim a warmth that no longer existed. I let her, but I kept my distance. I'd laugh when it suited me, touch her when she reached for me, make love to her with a hunger that left her breathless, then turn away like a stranger. It was a performance, calculated and cold, and she was unraveling in it. Lily knew the truth. I'd told her enough, careful to spare the ugliest details. At first, she was furious with me. "You're player game, Dad," she said one night over the phone. "You're just as bad." "I'm worse," I admitted, "but I'm not hiding it." She didn't speak to me for a week, but slowly she started to see it. Nora's desperation, the way she clung to a version of me that was long gone. Lily's calls grew warmer, her questions sharper. "Is Mom okay?" she'd ask, and I'd answer honestly, "She's trying to be." Then came the twist I hadn't anticipated. Victor didn't just leave. He came back, not for Nora, but to burn her down. Word spread through Willow Creek that he'd been ousted from his consulting firm after a client accused him of fraud. The client, a retired judge with deep ties in town, didn't press charges, but the scandal cost Victor his reputation. He blamed Nora, claiming she distracted him, destabilized him. One night, he showed up at her rental, drunk and raging, pounding on her door. "You broke me," he shouted, loud enough for neighbors to call it in. Nora called me, her voice trembling. "Daniel, he's here. He's screaming. I'm scared." "You'll be fine," I said, my tone even. "Call the police." "I need you," she pleaded, the panic raw. "Like I needed you that night. I told you about him." I paused, letting her words hang. "And I needed you to choose me," I said. Click. I didn't go. The police handled it. Victor was hauled off, charged with disturbing the peace. Nora was safe, but she felt the shift. For the first time, she understood I wasn't hers, not even as a weapon. The next weekend, she arrived at my place early. No suitcase, no pretense. Her face was bare, her eyes hollow. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice small. "This arrangement. It's killing me." "I understand," I said, leaning against the counter. "I still love you," she tried, stepping closer. "I believe you." I met her gaze, unyielding. "Can we start over?" she asked. her voice breaking. I stepped back. No, the man you betrayed doesn't live here anymore. You made someone else, and he's not interested. Her breath hitched. I'll always love you, Daniel. Then live with that, I said. But don't expect me to carry it for you. She left that night. No tears, no fight, just a quiet exit, like a ghost slipping through a crack in the world. The silence she left behind wasn't victory. It was just empty. The weeks after Nora's departure settled into a strange rhythm. Not quite calm, but muted, like the hum of a radio left on low. I threw myself into work at the Willow Creek station, digging into a cold case, a double murder from a decade ago that had stumped the department. I pored over witness statements and grainy CCTV footage, chasing patterns the way I'd once chased Nora's intentions. My team sensed the shift in me, harder-edged, less patient, but they didn't pry. "You good, Holt?" one of the younger officers asked after a late shift. "Never better," I said, and the lie felt true enough. Rachel Vance called one Tuesday morning, her voice sharp. "You want to hear this? Nora's filed a civil suit against you." I gripped the phone, stunned. "For what?" "Emotional distress. She claims your arrangement, her words, manipulated her, triggered anxiety, and caused lasting harm." I laughed, bitter and loud. She pitched the idea. "I got her texts, her voicemails." "I know," Rachel said. "Her case is flimsy, but she's betting on sympathy. A scorned woman, misled by her vengeful ex-public perceptions her weapon." "Let her try," I said, my voice cold. "She'll regret it." The deposition was set for a month later, a private hearing to gauge the case's merit. Nora arrived looking fragile, her hair pulled back, her sweater a pale beige that screamed innocence. Her lawyer, a slick type named Carver, flashed a grin meant to unsettle me. It didn't. Nora avoided my eyes, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Rachel took control from the start, presenting a timeline of Nora's messages. Emails where she'd called our weeks together a fresh start, texts begging to keep the arrangement going. But the real blow came when we played a recording one Nora had consented to during a late-night talk. Her voice, warm and unguarded, filled the room. "This is everything I wanted, Daniel. You and me like this, it's perfect." The silence that followed was brutal. Carver shifted in his seat, his confidence fraying. The judge dismissed the case within the hour, calling Nora's claims unsubstantiated. Outside the courthouse, she approached me, her voice a whisper. "I'm sorry." "For what?" I asked, my tone even. "The lies, the lawsuit, or thinking you could rewrite this story?" Her eyes welled up. "For breaking the only man who ever saw me clearly." I studied her, the woman who'd once been my home, now just a stranger with familiar features. "You didn't break me," I said. "You just showed me who you are." She stood there, trembling, as I walked away. Life didn't snap back to what it was. There was no before to reclaim, but it moved forward. Lily's high school graduation came that June. She'd asked us to attend separately, and I respected it, sitting 5 rows back. Nora was there, dressed plainly, her face tired but composed. When Lily crossed the stage, she looked at me, her smile small but real. It was enough. That summer, I started running again, joining a local trail group that cleared paths and planted trees. It wasn't about erasing the past. I'd stopped believing in fresh starts. It was about building something new, someone new, shaped by choice instead of loss. One evening, my phone buzzed with a call from Officer Reese. "Holt, we got Victor in holding. Picked him up for drunk driving." "Again?" I asked, leaning back in my chair. "Yeah, he's a mess. Want to handle it." Curiosity pulled me to the station. Victor sat in the cell, unshaven, eyes bloodshot. He sneered when he saw me. "What, here to gloat? You won." "No," I said, crossing my arms. "I just stopped playing." "You think you're above it all," he spat. "Better than me." "I don't think," I said, turning away. "I know." I left him there, his voice fading behind me. The drive home was quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't beg to be filled. For the first time in years, I felt steady, not whole but solid. Nora's shadow was shrinking, and I wasn't chasing it anymore. 3 years passed, long enough for the scars to fade into something I could ignore most days. Willow Creek stopped murmuring about the detective whose wife tried to split her heart between two men. Nora's name no longer lit up my phone, her voice absent from my voicemail. I moved to a small cabin on the outskirts of town, a place with a view of the hills and a porch where I could sit with my coffee and not think about what used to be. I turned down a promotion to a desk job at headquarters. Too much politics, too many masks. I stayed in the field, solving cases, chasing truth where the world made sense. Then, on a rainy Monday evening, a letter arrived. Not a text or an email, but a real envelope, the handwriting unmistakably Nora's. No return address, just my name in her careful script. I opened it, expecting a plea or an apology, but found neither. It was titled simply, "To the man I almost earned. Daniel, if you're reading this, I've left Willow Creek for good. I'm not coming back. Not to beg, not to explain, not to hurt you again. I've done enough of that. I've spent the last 2 years in therapy, the kind that rips you apart until you can't hide from yourself. I faced the truth, my selfishness, my need to be wanted, the way I treated love like a prize to collect instead of a gift to give. Victor wasn't the cause. He was just the excuse I used to run from what was broken in me. I thought I could have you both, but I didn't love either of you the way you deserved. I love what you gave me, security, certainty, home. But love isn't about taking. It's about giving when there's no guarantee of getting anything back. I failed you there spectacularly. You didn't just survive what I did, you reshaped it. You turned my betrayal into something stronger, and watching you do that, even from a distance, forced me to look at myself. I don't want forgiveness or a second chance. I just needed you to understand what I lost, and why it was the best thing I ever had. Tell Lily I'm proud of her, even if she doesn't want to hear it. I hope she grows into someone who loves the way you did before I broke that part of you. Goodbye, Daniel. Nora. I folded the letter and sat with it, the rain tapping the roof. No anger, no ache, just a stillness I hadn't felt in years. Not the kind that follows a fight, but the kind that comes when the war is over. I drove to Lily's place the next weekend, now a grad student studying literature 2 towns over. I handed her the letter without a word. She read it slowly, her face unreadable, then tucked it into a drawer. She wrote this? She asked. Every word, I said. Lily nodded, then hugged me, her grip fierce and brief. We didn't talk about it again. A month later, a realtor called. A house had hit the market, the one Nora and I had shared, the one she'd fought to keep in the divorce, the one Victor had briefly tainted before Nora bought him out and left it empty. The seller had asked the realtor to contact me first. I drove out to see it. The porch was the same, the mailbox still slightly crooked, but it felt like a stranger's home, a shell of a life I'd outgrown. I passed on the offer and felt lighter for it. That night, I slept through the night, no dreams pulling me awake at dawn. Revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's about letting someone see themselves clearly, without a mirror to hide behind. Sometimes it's about becoming someone they can't touch, not because you hate them, but because you've learned to value yourself more. Mining wasn't tidy or triumphant. It was quiet, raw, and mine. I didn't need Nora to fail or Victor to crumble. I didn't need the town's approval or Lily's full forgiveness. I needed to be Daniel Holt again, not the man Nora loved, not the man she broke, but the one who chose to walk forward, whole on his own terms. And I did.